संवेदन नहीं, नरसंहार होगा, नरसंहार।
Bearing in mind that it's become a new ritual now to do at least 2 interviews with Manoj Bajpayee in the year, I'm so excited to have him once again joining us on filmishilmy.com. And this time we're talking about a very special film called Bhaiyya, which also marks his 100th film. So huge congratulations on that, Manoj sir, and wonderful to have you again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I think now there is going to be a little bit long gap before we meet again, that too after 6 months. But yes, good to meet again and again, just to know that both of us are doing fine.
Yes, we are alive and hearty. That's all we need. That's all the world needs to know, I think, at the moment. But no, look, Bhaiyya looks like a great film. I think it's your homecoming actually in many ways as a sort of commercial entertainer, as a masala hero. I
Right.
think the fact that you work with Apurva, the director, before in Banda, which again was such a powerful film. I mean, you know how much I love that film.
Right.
So how has doing these two films, I guess, defined heroism for you as well?
Well, Banda is far more, far more content heavy, content-driven film. But Bhaiya Ji is dealing with more, I would say that, in the guise of a commercial action film and a formula film, it is also somewhere, trying to shift the story from the urban area to the rural India. Okay, the most of the commercial films are set in the urban cities, the heroes and uh, and the world is something which is not 75% of the India is, right?
Hmm.
So it's also an effort to take the story to that area and set and set it in the world of Heartland. Okay.
Hmm. Right.
Yes, it's a commercial action film. Yes, I don't do commercial films. That's I very few hardcore commercial film that I have been part of. Lately, I would say some years back it was Satyam Jayate and then Bagi 2, where I was the negative guy. These are barring these two films. I have not explored that genre that much.
Mhm.
But just doing Banda and looking at Apur Singh Karke's complete conviction into the mainstream action film, because he's a big fan and admirer of Telugu Tamil uh, action films.
Hmm.
Okay, he himself wanted to make a film. That was his passion since the time he was 18 years old. That one day, if I manage to become a filmmaker who's trusted, then I would like to make something like what they what they do in South India. Okay,
Right.
and that was a very unusual dream. Okay, I've never seen anybody so passionate about a genre
Hmm.
uh, which is massy and so full of action, right?
Hmm.
We watch it purely because of our entertainment, and then we forget about it. But when I saw him talking about it, when he heard this story idea from me, which I had it with me, and I wanted to do an independent film or middle of the road film, and he just pleaded with me to give this story to him because he somewhere felt that this is the right film for him to fulfill his desire and
Hmm.
that he has had since so many years.
Right.
And I just went with his conviction. I was very hesitant, reluctant to be part of it. I even promised him to think about it twice. If he wants some other hero who are quite well known and also known for doing these kind of films, I can always get it coordinated. The meeting can be set up, But he said, no, I mean, my film will be different
Mm-hmm.
from the usual commercial action films because you will be headlining it.
Yes.
You know, if you are not doing it, then I'm not doing it. But then it will be an usual film, you
Right.
know, and that's just looking at his passion and desire. I said, okay, okay, I'm getting into it with lot of nervousness because I'm not a trained action guy.
Mm,
Let's go ahead and have fun together,
right.
so it was only because of his passion that I decided to just hold his hand and go on this journey.
Hmm. And again, it's quite ironic as well, iconic actually in many ways as well, because obviously it's your 100th film. And
Right,
like you, we've spoken about the body of work you've done in previous interactions that we've had.
right.
But I guess when it comes to playing a mainstream hero, where you're almost uh playing the in a way a not a vigilante, perhaps a vigilante, but also the people's hero. Where you're sort of talking about saving
It's a common man. Yeah,
the common man. It's
the
about the
character,
common.
yeah, yeah. Most of the characters have always been the common man. The world has been the world, that the urban cities are completely oblivious with, right?
Right. Yeah. So I was gonna say for you, I'm sure as an actor, it must have been very fascinating because number one, उस वर्ल्ड से तो आप वाकिफ हो ही आपने वो वर्ल्ड एक्सप्लोर किया है जो रियलिज्म है वो कॉमन मैन की स्टोरी वो तो आपको मालूम ही है because you've lived that life also but then here where you're also doing these larger than life action scenes and
Right,
making these very heavy dialogues it's
right.
also it's almost like two different worlds coming together. So, how much of a balancing game was it for you as an actor in actually getting these two balance correct? That realism, that hardcore struggle that you faced as a Aam Aadmi, as well as fusing it with the larger than life masala landscape.
Well, this has been, so what the best thing was that the story is set in the heartland, the culture, the relationship, the tradition, the man and that kind of a legend, coming from that soil. Everything was very familiar with me because I was born and brought up in that kind of an area. Okay. So these kind of people, we just had to execute it in a way where you could look up to him, and the audience could look up to him. Okay,
Mm,
so the it's almost the same thing, but it's larger than life. If I make this film in a very independent way, it will not be a very different film, but the execution will be very different. Okay, the
mm,
treatment will be different. It will remain the same character, and the world will remain the same where he comes from, right?
mm,
It's just that, it's just the lensing and the way he shot it, Apuru Singh Karki,
mm,
that suddenly the man looks like an unbeatable, unchallenged guy.
right.
Okay. So, yes, double dose of action and pure focus on the entertainment without immersing yourself completely as a director. You are making this film, looking at it from a distance so that you can look at everything that you are shooting objectively. Whereas when you are shooting for Banda, you're shooting for Joram, you are completely immersed with the subject and the characters and the world that
Mm,
you are trying to put on the screen.
correct. Is it your producing the
I'm
film?
the yes, I'm the co-producer, Orega
Right.
Studios. Yeah,
Absolutely. So look, I think it's fantastic that you're doing that, and I think sort of self content is something which we believe in a lot in Filme Shilmy, as you know. So I think it's something which I can really identify and really appreciate a lot because when it comes to other masala sort of films, we've seen that producers often, because you've worked on such films, you would probably know that the budgets are a lot bigger, right? Sometimes.
right. Much bigger, much
So
bigger.
for you, again, not only do you have this responsibility as an actor, but you also have the responsibility as a producer, to bring the
Right,
finances in, to then also make sure that even though it is independent, to not make it seem amateur, there's that sense of, refinery that you needed to do as a producer, I'm sure. So
right.
again, that must have been a very tough challenge to do.
Oh yes, I mean, if I'm just being an actor on the set, my job is to concentrate and focus on the job which is on my hand, okay? And everything else gets blurred. The I'm not answerable to anything. I don't have to decide about any other department. But here, you have to stay in the character. You have to be available to the writer in the beginning of the shooting, and then after once the shooting starts, you have to be available to each and every department whenever they are going wrong, or whenever they have any kind of a confusion and they need a decision, right?
Hmm.
So you are never out of the film. You are never. I'm and also many times the zone that you are in as an actor, that is getting interrupted. You know that is and now how to do that? This was a challenge for 2 weeks for me, where
Hmm.
I really didn't know which part I should play, of the producer or of the actor. Then I realized that I have to learn the tricks of it.
Hmm.
Okay, so everyone was my partner in my production house. He was told very specifically, and the production team was told not to get anything to me till lunch.
Oh.
Okay, and not to get only to get everything the bigger issues. Once the shooting is over, he will sit here for half an hour, 40 minutes with us, and we'll discuss and we'll be on the way to the hotel. And after that, then again, he should not be disturbed. So they themselves were very, very cautious. They were trying to take care of my performance, my space. But yes, damn it, it was tough. It was really tough for me, because I have never lived a life of an actor like this,
Hmm.
where I had to do something else apart from acting. And also, the budget, you are so right. I mean, other mainstream action films, they are triple the budget,
Hmm.
and sometimes, 4 times, 5 times the budget of Bhaiyya Ji. But we had to pull it off and and mount it in such a way that it looks like a 100 crore film or 80 crore film.
Right.
But we didn't have the money, so each and everyone putting their best foot forward here, because it was up to me to create that trust and camaraderie between each other, so that everybody becomes a stakeholder in this.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that if for anything you should credit me, you should credit me for just creating the atmosphere of trust, and the passion with which the team worked. I mean, come on, I mean, 42 days, 42 days we pulled off a massive film.
Hmm. Definitely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that as well. And I think the trailer looked really impressive as well. And it called you the Desi superstar. And I think that's probably the right way to call you, actually, is the Desi superstar, because you've definitely represented the voice of the Amjanta for so long. But I think Manoj sir, Bhayaji comes at a time where there's a bit of a dry patch in
Yes.
cinema generally, in the mainstream Hindi cinema, as well as in Hollywood. I mean, right now it's completely empty. It's barren, and I think the fact that we're having like old films sort of re-releasing, it's just trying to revive the cinemas. Why do you think we're suddenly met with this whole dryness in content, especially after last year? Because last year was so promising and it really hoped to bring people back to the cinemas, but now it's kind of come to a bit of a standstill. And how hopeful do you think a film like Bhayaji, despite being modestly budgeted, despite it not obviously being like a huge event film per se, how do you
Right.
think this can also represent and encourage more uh, films to also become independent, but yet also try to appeal to the masses? So why do you think it's a two-part question, really?
Okay. So, a first and foremost reason that which has been very evident, that since the time people were locked inside during the pandemic, they had one huge world of entertainment waiting for them in form of OTT. and they have never cared about it till they were in the habit of going to cinemas,
Hmm.
right? And once the pandemic was declared and lockdown, was declared, they they were forced to stay inside. Uh, and that was the time they got an opportunity to really explore this world of OTT. And it is a deep world. It is a world of entertainment. You can get tired, but the OTT will never get tired, right?
Hmm.
It has so much of stuff there. And that was the time they got educated in entertainment. They educated in appreciating films performances. The audiences, urban city audiences have changed, all right? And the rural India, they were or the mass audience, they didn't have any reason to go to the multiplex to go and watch a film, because we have not been making films for them. I
Hmm.
mean, since the time of the multiplexes, I mean, since the time it started, the whole movement of multiplexes, we stopped making films for them. And very few films were coming every year, which they could go inside, they could afford, and buy a ticket, get inside a single screen, and really enjoy the way they wanted to enjoy, or the way audiences before them were
Hmm.
enjoyed cinema going, right? For them, cinema is not Godfather. For them, cinema is not the kind of cinema even I was doing, right?
Hmm.
For them, cinema is a cinema where I can just sit in a dark theater and whistle and dance and be entertained completely.
Right.
So all the commercial films that we've been making lately, most of them were into urban settings, and the heroes, they have appreciated for long enough, but they were also getting tired, and they're silent. In silence, they were also. It's my opinion,
Yeah.
they've been really waiting for someone to make a film about them, about their world, about their relationship, about their story, uh, and and create a story around, you know around the a character which could be their hero, right? They could
Hmm.
relate with, in a way. Very sketchy reference I can give you is the 70s film, when
Yes.
Mr. Vinod Khanna, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, all of these guys were ruling the roost. And those stories were set not all the time in an urban city. The heroes were coming from the common people's world,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
they could root for, right? The whole angry man thing, मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता. I
Hmm.
mean, it resonated with everyone in those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I personally feel that we, as film industry, should focus more on people's cinema.
Agreed. Hmm.
If you are making a commercial film, don't alienate them with your visuals, with your VFX, with the things which has nothing to do with them.
Correct. I love Hindi cinema the most. I mean, that's the reason why I decided
Right.
to become a journalist, right? But I think what's happened is that, see, globalization ke chakkar mein, which is fantastic. I'm loving the whole global India feel. I
Right.
think it's phenomenal. But I think kya ho gaya hai, like you mentioned, is that we've kind of forgotten our roots a little bit, like, which is what Hindi cinema used to do back in the day. Even if you look at the 2000s films, when even if like Kanarwala Grandsons, if they would invest in a film, they would also have that common man story as well, even
Right.
if they had the beauty and the whole escapist tropes as
Right.
well.
Right.
So again, why do you think? I mean, I'm trying to sort of pick your brains a bit more here, but why do you think we've lost that sense of reality? I think in commercial films now, and how hopeful are you in that coming back as well in the near future?
To answer your second question, I'm very hopeful and very positive. That's why we decided to make this film, and somewhere we are driven by the passion. And and a correct story and the correct representation of the people, you know, it will resonate with people. I know that was to answer your first question. Why it has happened? There are too many. I think there are too many reasons for it. With the coming of multiplexes, we somehow got very relaxed that we don't have to make films only for the front benchers,
Hmm.
right? And which comprises 70% of your audience.
Right.
And there was a 25% of the population which was aspirational, 20 years back, 25 years back. And and for them, the filmmakers were also, kind of coming from the families, or the roots, uh, which and their films were coming from their own experience and their own life and their own aspiration,
Hmm.
25, 26 years back. And they had their set of heroes. So they didn't need single screen. They didn't need um, uh, that mass audience for their films to do well. They explored overseas audience. If you start researching on this, you'll see a great surge in overseas uh, films
Hmm.
doing very well overseas. And those were the people who were also very proud of looking at their India that they left, or their fathers have left, is doing so well on screen,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
But in reality, things were different.
Right.
And here in India, our audience was getting, there was a part of our audience which was very aspirational, and they could go to, which could, they could afford the high price tickets at multiplexes.
Hmm.
So they became the larger target audience for all the filmmakers.
Hmm. Right.
Now, those people are suddenly they are exposed to a massive world of OTT, and they are reluctant in going to the multiplexes.
Hmm.
Okay. So the multiplexes are facing a great danger now, the major crisis.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the only way we can go back to go back to making films which can attract audience is start making films for the masses.
Correct.
Okay, because those are the people, they are desperate to go to the theater, because they don't have the luxury of sitting at home and watching the films on OTT. They rather watch it for free on their phones,
Yeah.
right? So they are ready to go to a single screen theater and be entertained by the kind of films they want. So this is the time to go back to 70s and really learn few tricks from those filmmakers and those films, and start setting it up in the heartland.
Correct. And I think also what I think is also equally important, and I think like you rightly said about how making films for the masses can save the multiplexes is what you're
Right,
saying,
right.
right? And I think this is why societal conversation is very important because हम एक ऐसे woke era में रह रहे हैं जो obviously
Uh-huh.
social conversations have become so important and they've really come to the surface now. And I think this is a great time as well, if we think about it, right, Manoj sir? Because if filmmakers go back and make films to do with the heartlands, to do with the masses, but have important topics which are relevant to today's society and not indulge in the regressive tropes. Because if we look back now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see. I mean, there are few films which did well. Every filmmaker can't copy each other, but the one takeaway for me, or one observation is that try to set it up in the world of the larger audience, and try to write uh, the characters or the heroes of theirs, the people, the character that will resonate with them, if even if it is a commercial mass film.
Hmm.
Okay. Banda, similarly, Banda was a very content-driven, courtroom drama. But if you look at Banda, he is a common man.
Yeah.
And people here in India and everywhere who watched it, they were rooting for him. They were crying with him. They were rooting for him. They felt exhilarated when you know he won the case. And there was a kind of a reaction and response from B and C sector, which was unprecedented, Anuj, unprecedented. So
Hmm.
that again, proves a point that we have to write a story which resonates with the people,
Sure.
even if it is a commercial film.
Sure. So for the longest amount of time, I found that there's always been this divide, though. I don't know if maybe you have faced it as well. That if you did like an art film or a non-commercial mainstream film, you would be sort of bracketed and very much like sort of marginalized and pushed to the side a little bit by the sort of elite circles of storytellers. But now what
Right.
is happening is that those elite storytellers are now actually using the non-mainstream and the realistic sort of aspects as a tick box. Have you identified this sort of changing trend as well now?
Oh yeah,
In,
I have. I've
and
seen. I have been a very keen observer. Sorry, you finish your question, then I answer.
yeah, and then also my second part of the question is that times will change and evolve. But one thing that stays absolutely stuck in time is the evergreen essence of Veer Zaara, and that celebrates 20 years this year. It's one of my favorite films ever in Hindi cinema. So for you as well, when you introspect now as the Manoj Bajpayee today, when you look back at that time, what sort of thoughts go through your mind? If there's any particular anecdotes that you've never shared before with anyone, and if you could share with us, that would be amazing. So
You
those are
know,
the sort
to
of
to answer first question, somewhere you know, I have been observing this industry very keenly because I chose to stay on the fringe and work from there. So if you are staying on the fringe, you are also looking at things very up from a distance, right? The one harm which has done to this industry is the elitism. Elitism has really ruined it for creativity, for quality. Because then you stop looking outside. Then you create a bubble which where you are very much comfortable in, and you don't need anyone. And even if the person who is in that bubble is average, and he or she doesn't suit the role or the job, you still prefer to go with that person.
Hmm,
Somewhere it has fragmented the whole industry, the elitism.
hmm,
Okay. And the quality suffered, the fraternity suffered. Now we are fragmented. The film industry that we say is a family or a fraternity is not. Is only to use that word and look good in an interview. It is not. All of us are working in our from separate areas, right?
hmm,
It used to be a great industry, yes. It used to be an industry where everyone used to meet each other very happily, connect with each other, sit with each other. All the lyricists, music directors, great writers, actors, directors. They finding evenings where they could just meet and greet and have good time with. But now there's no culture of that. So
hmm.
when you are not celebrating each other's excellence, mediocrity will seep in,
True, very true.
right? So that is to answer first question. Secondly, Veer Zaara, for me, uh, a very important film because I had an opportunity to work with Mr. Yash Chopra, and I was there for 4 5 days. I was treated very well by Mr. Chopra and his company and his all his departments. They have given me so much of love and affection. I can never forget. Uh, the role was really good, but for me, I always felt that I mean, I only had two scenes, but I feel good. I feel good that people talk about it as one of the most memorable, what do you call, presence of mine on
Mm.
uh, on this screen on mainstream in a mainstream film. Uh, so yeah, the memory of working with Mr. Yash Chopra will be very special always.
Mm. Absolutely. We miss him. And I think on a lighter note as well, because I know you've got to rush off, but you were talking about elitism and how it's obviously fragmented the industry, but it's also changing as well, right? There's also a lot of positive change that's also coming in, right? As well.
I mean, it should happen rapidly because we are in the time of crisis.
Mm,
Yeah, we are in a time of crisis. We should learn from each other. We should, rather than, being critical of each other and pointing fingers at, we should be ready to learn from each other and try to come out of this, of this, what a difficult time together,
mm,
right?
yeah,
Instead of thinking that, what does he think of himself? How can he make this a statement? No, we are all coming from the same concern. This
absolutely.
industry, the theaters have to jump back in its old form. If
100%.
if the theaters will survive, we will survive.
Exactly.
It's a
Absolutely.
common concern.
It's so true. It's so true. But thankfully, we've got a Bhaiyya to save the day, which is
Oh
great.
no, I just hope, and I really want all everyone's prayer. I want everyone's prayer. It's this film is made for the people, by the people, and definitely for the people. So I want, all the villages, small towns, all common people, middle class, no middle class, really come in numbers and watch this film, and and really enjoy and celebrate the Hindi cinema of
100%.
all kind.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
For
Right.
sure. Wonderful. But look, Manoj, sir, thank you so much for joining us once again on filmishilmy.com. It's always so wonderful. Honestly, I could talk to you for hours on end. It's just so wonderful to hear your insights and again for putting on such another, formidable production as well. And I'm looking forward to revisiting having a bit of a nostalgic moment in the theaters with Bhayaji. So thank you so much for that and wishing you all the very
Thank
best.
you. Please whistle. Please whistle there.
Definitely. We'll definitely do that for sure. All
Yeah.
right, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.